We'll take you all the way.
Wow. Paul Holmgren has to have told his guys to be patient. In game one, the battle of positional discipline and patience was won by the Flyers. Pat Burns' team really let down, and the Flyers got a couple of breaks and capitalized on them. Burns now is in the driver's seat, so in my mind, the Flyers can't open anything up just yet. It's 2-0. That's lots of time. You got to keep in mind, though, they're trying to come back on the #1 ranked defensive team in the NHL overall during the regular season. That's a tall order, and they're so patient, Montreal is, on most nights, that if you try and open it up, positionally, they'll kill you. They'll end up with a 2-on-1, and they'll get one at your end. So far too early yet.
If there was a breach maybe in the first period, it would have been on Berube's offensive zone cross-checking penalty, and then Ken Reggett sent one over the glass, and that gave the Canadiens a 5-on-3 for their first goal. Flyers on the power play, a lot of time in which to work, just under 90 seconds here at the start of the third. Murphy fires one that's deflected away by Walter. Tocchet able to work it back to Kerr. Feeds it back to Murphy. Murphy a shot, and that one blocked out. Murphy again, and his shot struck Mike Bullard. He goes down. Buck to the corner and picked up by Chelios, and Bullard is shaken by having been hit by that puck. Mike Bullard is going at about 1/3 speed, hunched over to the Flyers bench right now, is replaced by Eklund as you watch Larry Robinson play it. And Robinson glasses it back down. The shot by Murphy glanced off Bullard. We're not sure exactly where, but he is in pain at the bench. It is McPhee losing to Pelle Eklund. Has Howe moving to the front. Works to the outside to Murphy. Murphy flips one that came right back along to Eklund. Run into by McPhee. And Strudlin tries to clear but can't. Lost by Tim Kerr. And here comes McPhee up the wing. He's got Strudlin and Chelios. Fires wide on the long side. And all the way back it goes.
He had a couple of people coming with him, Mike, but Mike McPhee decided to shoot. If he had really taken a look at how far out of the net Ken Reggett was, he would have realized there was nothing there. And the fact that he shot about 18 inches to 2 feet wide will tell you there was nothing to shoot at there either.
Chris Chelios, in the first 40 minutes, played 23 minutes and 13 seconds. Short-handed, power play, even strength, you name it, he was out for it.
That's not bad for a guy that was cut from a lot of teams when he was a kid. See Reggett? Boy, he is a good 10 feet out in front of his crease. He's in the big circle. McPhee didn't look to the right. He had Strudlin coming.
Canadians survey the situation. They still have 25 seconds of power play time to kill off. Sutter, Kerr, and Tocchet. Kartner and Chychrun now the point men for the Flyers. Sutter goes by, has a word with Kerr, and comes back in. And it'll be Tocchet to take the draw instead.
Boy, Mike Bullard is still down behind the bench.
It has been on the regular clock 2 to 3 minutes of time since he was struck by that shot from Gord Murphy. Here is Chychrun dumping one wide, moving in the last 10 seconds of the power play with Sutter, but Roy just held on to it and got the halt to play.
Well, Mike Bullard finally joins the ranks of the living.
Eddie Merce there giving him the smelling salt.
Eddie Mears, we mentioned again, was pressed into action when Dave Settlemeyer had to leave Montreal. Kurt Mund is back there as well. Jim Turk Evers. Those are the three men that you see in the orange silk walking up and down behind the bench.
9 seconds from now, it'll be Ludwig out of the box. Montreal leading 2-0 early in the third period. Flyers on the power play. In comes Shell Samuelson. Samuelson centered and Tocchet pulled it wide. Chelios skips one around. Mark Howe is waiting. Howe spins one right in on goal. Rebound, and Kerr couldn't get to it. Now it's Tocchet trying to spin but can't. Svoboda lays it back out to Guy Carbonneau in a 3-on-2. Up the wing to Ludwig. Ludwig's pass knocked down by Samuelson. Ludwig able to recover, though. Centered one, and it went beyond Carbonneau's reach. Now Chelios in drive, and a stop made that time by Reggett as he deflects to the corner. Ludwig just flicks it behind. Mark Howe stepping toward it. Has to duel with Corson. Up the boards it comes, and Chelios locked up with Kerr as it spun back on the bank for Samuelson. Teams at even strength with 17:40 left in the third. Ahead comes Derek Smith. Smith trying to turn by Chelios. Wrist shot blocked down by Roy. And Svoboda picks it up. Dave Poulin right on him. Dump back off for Bob Gainey. Mellenby steps into Gainey. Svoboda winds it around, and Chelios is there. Chelios right back to Richer. That one knocked loose by Jay Wells, who lost his stick but regained. Back up comes Bob Gainey. Shovels one over for Corson. Corson in front. Richer. Pass. Stop made by Reggett on Richer. Wonderful goalkeeping by Ken Reggett tonight. His team trailing in the game 2-0. And he has kept this from being a decisive Montreal lead. Here is Murphy. Pressed by Gainey. Richer steps ahead with it. Eyed up by Jay Wells. The cross and the deflection by Secord enables Mellenby to play for the Flyers. Richer watching him, but Mellenby able to shake away from Richer's checking. Ahead it is rolled on to Pelle Eklund. Eklund moving to the slot. Backhand pass, and it's found Mellenby's stick off the ice. Now Secord can't get it to the front. Secord winds, Mellenby there to take, but it rolled under his stick. Now it is Eklund flipping one. Secord couldn't reach it, and it's brushed ahead by Keane on to Matt Naslund, trying to get through the defense. He's in on a breakaway. Save made by Ken Reggett. Incredible goaltending by Ken Reggett as Naslund stopped on a breakaway, and now Keane with it trickles one that Reggett will just hang on to. His easiest stop of the night. Following one of his hardest. And the score stays 2-0 Montreal.
The moment. It is born of the things we live for, and sometimes made of the things we live through. So whether it's the moment you need cash, or the moment you've been waiting for, you can count on MasterCard. In nearly 3 times the number of places as American Express, wherever you happen to be. From sea to shining sea. MasterCard. Master the moment.
We mentioned earlier that Matt Naslund, there he is, hasn't been given that much room here in this series so far. But when you do give him a little bit of room, here's what happens. He gets a jump on Gord Murphy and Jay Wells, and you can see that he's pulling away from both of them. That's great concentration by Naslund just to stay up. And then even better concentration by Ken Reggett. Naslund looked like he wanted to go between the legs. You know, a lot of goaltenders, when they make that move to the left, will take their stick out of the way so that there's a hole there.
Yeah.
You may have noticed Reggett maintained the, his stick position between his legs to protect low, and that's exactly where Naslund went.
Well, he came in with a goals against average of .81. That's 0.81. Courtnall a drive, and that one blocked away by Walter. Courtnall goes in to get it. Chychrun missed with the check. Courtnall trying to get to the front, taken down by Chychrun. And up with it is Dave Poulin. Shovels a pass for Cartner, cut off by Walter. Good forechecking and back-checking tonight by the Canadiens, and that time a good hit on Chychrun by Courtnall. It is Walter laying one back over for Guy Carbonneau. Then to Courtnall, and he hurried a shot wide. Jeff Chychrun back to get it. Flips one off the stick of Carbonneau, and it comes back on to Sutter. Here's Sutter moving up the wing. Has Cartner along with him. Ron Sutter moving in, and a shot sailed wide. Now Sinisalo in as Ron Sutter, checked by Carbonneau. Puck brought back up by Walter, tried to get it through Samuelson, but no sail there. Just over 15 and a half minutes to go in the third period of this one. Power play goals by Richer in the first, Desjardins in the second. 2-0 Montreal as Kerr comes in. Snuffed out by Robinson that attempt. Puck behind, and Chelios goes for it, and Sinisalo wedges him off so that Carbonneau can tap it along the board. Now Lemieux, checked from behind by Bullard, who is able to release for Kerr. Kerr nudged to the boards by Carbonneau. Kerr able to flip it along. Mike Bullard is there, and the puck came back to Howe. Howe flips the backhander, cut off by Larry Robinson, and Robinson leads the rush. Up ice he moves with Lemieux. Gives to Lemieux. Wrist shot. Caught and held by Reggett. 14:58 to go in the third. Shot 33 by the Canadiens. 2-0 they lead.
For the fire. For the drive. For pushing hard. Each time you try. For the heroes staying true. For the team for coming through this blood for you.
World champions for the 4th year in a row, the Budweiser King and Motor Week's Driver of the Year, Kenny Bernstein.
This blood for you.
Well, Mike Bullard punched over, but he's all right. He's out here for a regular shift. There's the shot that comes from Gord Murphy. Catches him down low. Taking the better part of 5 or 6 minutes for Mike Bullard to get with it, but he's back out there now.
And that is 5 or 6 minutes of time on the scoreboard clock. So add about another 5 or 6 to that. Brian Strudlin with Sutter on the face-off. It is Mike McPhee trying to center, and Howe knocked that one down. McPhee grabbed by Howe. Sutter came in, tapped it along to Al Secourt. Couldn't get away from the double team. McPhee rolls. Strudlin centers right to Mike Bullard, who can start it back the other way for the Flyers. He's got Secourt with him. Bullard finesses, now carries it along. Shoveled one that went off of Chelios. Ludwig steers back up to Lemieux. And Lemieux up the wing for Strudlin. Lost it right to Ken Reggett, who turns it along to Bullard. Bullard with a little tap, will have to take it himself, has Sullivan in motion, hands back on to Secourt. Secourt hammers one, and that one went off of Roy, as that gave him some problem. A hard drive by Al Secourt. And it is forced right back out again by Lemieux, and here's a chance for Strudlin moving in. Murphy watching, drive, and a stick save made by Reggett. Good hard shot by Brian Strudlin. It is Bullard ahead, as it worked off his stick by Naslund. Shoveled back along, and it's Ludwig. He slides it across the green with 14 minutes to go in this third period. Bobby Smith tries to wind his way around. It is Smith shoveling one, and that one hung up in both Wells and Keane. Poked along by Wells, and Svoboda is there. Angles one around, and Murphy checked by Bobby Smith, so it is Derek Smith to flip it back out. Svoboda back to take it for the Canadiens' defense. Hammered by Derek Smith, but it's Keane up with it, and that poke checked away by Mellanby. And as Bill observed in the first period, this line is doing a splendid job for the Flyers in keeping the Canadiens from scoring and really keeping their rushes down. Here's Bobby Smith giving it up to Kartner, but right back to Smith again. Moving in with Matt Naslund. Bobby Smith eyed up by Murphy. Peels off and hands to Svoboda, and a shot knocked down by Kartner and forced away from Keane. Now it's Smith dropping one off, but it is Murphy. Then off of Mellanby, and some of the heat finally taken off as the Flyers can get a change made. 17,428 chanting "Go Habs, go" here tonight. The Habs have gone to a 2-0 lead with under 13 minutes left in the third. Richer run off by Terry Kartner. Good move there by the big Flyers defenseman, but it's stolen back by Richer to Gainey. A shot on, falling to block it away was Chychrun. Now it's Gainey along to Richer. He's got Robinson in the slot. Can't get loose to pass. Richer grabs his head and goes down. Delayed penalty call is coming up against the Flyers. It appeared that he was initially raising his hand toward his face, but that's changed. Let's pause for a regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel.
Michael Pavanka, Washington Capitals. Power play.
In business, it's survival of the fittest.
George and Company, Big and Tall Men's Shop. The best fit.
Well, we're averaging about a shot in a period. Shot per minute per period, I should say. Canadiens have 5 in this period. Flyers have 3, and we've played nearly 8 minutes.
34 shots now on Ken Reggett, but to me, one of the stories tonight has been so far Patrick Waugh at the other end. He hasn't looked shaky like he did last night, and the Flyers have only been able to manage 18 shots on him. Now Montreal's on a power play.
Robinson's shot slowed down by Sullivan, brushed along to Richer. Richer points it back to Robinson, who lost. Now Richer moving in, a shot! And Reggett was able to knock it down and cover up before Walter could move in. And now Richer being given a shove by Dave Poulin. The penalty that brought on this power play, Ron Sutter a high stick at 7:27, as you saw Doug Sullivan and Mark Howe very close to becoming involved.
Boy, Ken Reggett doesn't have to do much to pop that helmet off. We've mentioned it before, but there are no straps. Stefan, the shooter, Richer, once again has this one all lined up, but he drills it right at Ken Reggett. You could see Ryan Walter, number 11, standing at the side for anything, for a rebound, but it just doesn't happen. Good job by Ken Reggett of knowing where that puck was. It hit him low on his pad and went right down. At his feet, he was able to smother it.
There you see Stefan Richer, second-round pick of the Canadiens, their third overall in 1984. Some guys can make a career on a slap shot, and I guess he's done that, although the Canadiens coaching staff would sure like him to develop something else, but he has a boomer. Now he's going to work on the left wing. They have Robinson left point, Desjardins on the right side. Puck rolled behind. Kjell Samuelsson steps toward it for the Flyers, who still have 1:35 to kill on this minor penalty. It is Desjardins, canceled out by Dave Poulin, but to get it is Corson. Gives it back to Robinson with 12 minutes to go here in the third. Larry Robinson, 17 straight years in the playoffs, tying a record in the league held by Brad Park. Puck wound around in Corson, then back to Robinson. Over now to Desjardins, a shot, and that one held by Reggett as it went through the screen of Howe and Richer.
You know, you can tell the difference between a Desjardins shot and a Richer shot. That was an attempt to shoot a deflectable one at the net by Eric Desjardins. He didn't try to score from there. He had a nice compact swing. Just let it go. And who was in front looking for a rebound? Number 44, Stefan Richer. Well, the kids played a lot better tonight. Eric Desjardins was victimized on Ilka Sinisalo's goal 2 nights ago. And really was the weak link back in defense. The pair of Robinson and Desjardins were the weak link. There was that nice compact swing. There's Richer looking for a rebound.
Side by side they sit. Fans of both teams. There are a lot of Philadelphia fans here in the Montreal area, but of course far more who wear the Canadiens jersey here. Many of the Flyers fans have come to the Flyers Hotel to get signatures. Chelios a shot, knocked down and held by Ken Reggett once more. And that becomes shot number 37. Well, we mentioned earlier that the Canadiens wanted to get a lot of pucks at Ken Reggett and really give him trouble in seeing it and having a lot of traffic in front. The Flyers are still hanging tough, doing a real good job of letting him see the puck, even now when they're down a man. Montreal keeps directing pucks at him, but Reggett has been able to see almost every one tonight. Here is Peter Svoboda, pestered by Sullivan, winds it off for Keane, but to get it is Howe. Punches it ahead, and Poulin able to pop it back out. Bobby Smith wheels back to get it. 50 seconds to go on the power play. In comes Svoboda through the legs to Matt Naslund. Naslund points it back now to Chelios. Chelios watched by Eklund, rolls it off to Keane. Then along it comes to Bobby Smith, escapes the checking of Eklund. Has Naslund nearby. Gives to him. Shot, and it went just over the crossbar. Chelios drops it back, and Naslund has to go to neutral ice to control. Half a minute to go on the power play. It is Naslund now with just under 11 minutes to play in the third, and his team ahead 2-0, losing to Samuelsson. Along it comes to Chelios, and he winds it back across to Svoboda. Up the wing comes Bobby Smith, boomed off by Chikrin. Svoboda has to regather. 10 seconds to go on the power play. Then it's Svoboda connecting on to Matt Naslund. Eyed up by Chikrin as Naslund tries to go by and then decides the better of it. Cruises and looks. Naslund around the score. Guy Carbonneau.
The toughest guys to cover are the ones that come off the bench because they virtually come out of nowhere. That's where Carbonneau came from. All the way off the bench, he was able to get by Derek Smith before Derek Smith picked him up visually and got a good pass from Naslund and one timed it on his forehand right here past Ken Reggett. 2 Flyers tee on Naslund. Carbonneau slips in between Kartner and Smith, and Guy Carbonneau scores an even-strength goal. The penalty to Ron Sawyer had expired by 1 second. So with 9, or at least with 10:32 to go in this hockey game, the Canadiens lead it 3-0.
38th shot of the game by Montreal, and they have a 3-0 lead now. Offside called against the Flyers. Clock stopped with 10:22 to go in the third. Richer, Desjardins, and Carbonneau have the goals in the game. The score, Montreal 3, and the Flyers, no score. Let's pause for a regional break. You're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs on Sports Channel.
Tune in 1/2 hour before every Orioles home game for the All-Star Chevrolet Orioles Report. Hosted by Tom Davis with special features, in-depth player interviews, and live call-ins to express your personal views on the O's. Also, an up-to-date sports report with George Johnson and a live weather report forecasting conditions for the game. That's 1/2 hour before every Orioles home game on the home of the Orioles, Home Team Sports.
Center blocked off by Roy. Now it is Wells breaking it up. Steered it back out again halfway through this third period. 3-0 Montreal leading as Ludwig took a fist in the face from Rick Tocchet. It is Courtnall leading it on to Carbonneau. Moving up the wing with McPhee. Carbonneau feathers one across that is jammed away by Reggett. Then a drive by Courtnall deflected to the glass. Jay Wells steps to it. Wells trying to move out, chased off by Carbonneau. He and Wells go down. McPhee tries a pass. Tight checking there by Dave Poulin. McPhee leaned on by Jay Wells. It is Reggett taking over and handing on to Gord Murphy. Strong checking game tonight by the Montreal Canadiens. They have a 3-0 lead, and the Flyers are down now to 9:20 to get 3 goals to force a sudden death overtime. Strudlin rolls, Mellenby takes, and the fans here at the Forum are singing the "Na-Na Goodbye" song. Might be a little early. Lemieux drops it on back. Reggett sets it up now for Mark Howe. Poulin bumps with McPhee. Howe starts it back up ice. He's got Mellenby alongside. Feeds one over for Derek Smith, but Mellenby in early, and so offside is called. We'll return to the Forum in Montreal after these words. Well, winning the first game has meant a lot over history. 70% of first-game winners have taken...
For a nice cold bud?
Then where does she come from?
Now, I'm interested in what Kurt Muntz, the Flyers equipment manager and assistant trainer, said today about the style of helmet that Brian Propp was wearing, as opposed to other helmets that he might have been wearing. The design of hockey helmets are quite a bit different, and some teams prefer a certain type or type. And had Brian Propp been wearing a different style, why, it might have been far more serious than it turned out to be. Had a mild concussion. He's watching in civilian clothes here tonight. We don't know yet exactly how soon he'll return. Puck wound around, and Perry Cartner is there to get it. Leaned down by Bob Gainey's checking. Puck bounced back off to Richer. Tries to get to the front, and it's flicked away by Chikrin. Picked up, though, by Gainey. Rolled along, go to Richer. Richer locked up by Al Secord, and Pivot trying to turn away. Richer got it over to Corson, but he couldn't get a shot off. Tim Kerr with a pass on to Eklund, punched away by Chikrin. Advanced up the wing to Al Secord. Secord's pass is to Kerr. His shot is blocked away by the right pad of Roy. Now Cartner with 8 minutes to go here in the third period. Winds it to Kerr, tried to center, but it was blocked away from Eklund by Robinson. Secord back to Murphy. One-timer. Ricocheted across to Eklund, but he was unable to get the stick on it. Now it's Secord, flopping one behind, and Robinson forces it back along for Gainey. Murphy checked off. It'll come to Desjardins this time. Hurries it around the other side, and Wells shuts it off. Then over for Eklund. Shot back, and Wells couldn't reach, and so Richer will just trickle one back to the Flyers zone and come for a shift change. Along with this is Murphy. Non-stop action right now. The team's changing on the fly. 7 minutes, 25 seconds to go in the third. Robinson shakes it off, and Murphy able to drive it around. Chelios behind to get it, and Tocchet right after him. Chris Chelios turns it along, and moving back up ice with it is Naslund. Naslund couldn't get through Murphy. Wells connects back on with Tocchet. Here's Tocchet wheeling in. Hammers one, and that's blocked down by Roy. Glass back out. It ricocheted off Howe and came back over to Murphy. Into the glove of Chelios. Chelios ran into Murphy. They fought one another. Meanwhile, Naslund's pass was too far for Keane. Down to get it is Mark Howe. Checked by Keane, then Sinisalo couldn't reach. but it is Sutter to control. Ron Sutter laying it back on the stick of Howe. Picks up Ilka Sinisalo, and Howe tried to flip it through Ludwig, but nothing there. Now Mark Howe takes a look, flips a pass, hoping for Tocchet, who's locked up with Ludwig. Tocchet behind has help from Sinisalo, getting it to Howe, and a shot on goal. Rebound! It's poked wide by Sinisalo. As down had gone Roy, but at a difficult angle, Sinisalo could not send it home. Icing is the call against the Canadiens. Clock stopped with 6:18 to go in the third. It's his team 3, the opposition nothing.
The 1989 Stanley Cup Playoffs, brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud for you. Sports Channel is more than the exclusive national carrier of the Stanley Cup Playoffs. It's the Sports Channel Pro Boxing Tour, the World Basketball League, the Ladies Pro Bowlers Tour, exciting amateur baseball featuring Team USA, thoroughbred horse racing, and more. Sports Channel, prime time sports, 7 nights a week.
Wait a minute, I just saw this guy at noontime. That's Yvan Cornway, the road runner, Hall of Famer, ex-Montreal Canadiens, very successful brasserie, restaurant and beer place here in Montreal. Seat 600, it's huge.
Berube threw one through, blocked off by Roy, then another shot by Kartner, knocked down by Green. Now Kartner behind to Mellenby, couldn't get to the front for the stuff attempt. It is Mike Bullard tripped up on the play. Bullard gets up to play again to Berube. Oh, and a shot was wide. In to get this now is Walter. Ryan Walter for the Canadiens gets it to Swoboda, starts back out. He's got Courtnall up the wing. Swoboda taken down. Protest, but nothing was called. Play continues with 5:50 to go in the third. Parker with a pass that's too stiff for Mellenby. Down it goes in Mellenby. First one there, no icing. Mellenby has Bullard to the front. Tries to turn away as Mike Bullard is taken down. Now Bullard took some lumber from Swoboda. Berube there, checked well by Carbonneau, and Swoboda just jams it onto Green. Shots are 38-23. Canadiens with the dominance they did not show in Monday's opener tonight. And it would be far more impressive on the scoreboard than 3-0 were it not for the goalkeeping of Ken Reagan. Here is Green. Has Courtnall moving alongside, and Green just plays it conservatively back in. It is Chychrun to get it. Down to the last 5-10. Patrick Roy has had only one shutout in Stanley Cup play, but he waited to the finals of '86 to get it. Getting one against the Calgary Flames in Game 4 of that series, 1-0. Montreal took the series 2 nights later. Up comes McPhee, and a drive is deflected to the glass by Murphy. Stepping to it is Jay Wells. Moving out with Eklund, and he picks up Doug Sullivan. Angles one, hoping for Eklund. Chased off by Larry Robinson. Sullivan is there, and Robinson as well, as it's jammed behind, and Skrudland up with it. Clock continues to go against the Flyers, down to 4 minutes and 30 seconds to play here in the third. It is Murphy lofting one back in deep, and Desjardins to go take it from Roy. Flyers making a change now, have Eklund and Tocchet along with Al Secord. Wells and Murphy the defense as Lemieux moves toward it, but Murphy was there first. Gord Murphy with a pass that went by Tocchet, and Robinson will go back to take it for the Canadiens, hooked right to him by Patrick Roy. Sinisalo is out now for the Flyers. Tocchet stays, and Sutter has come on too. Sutter with good tenacious checking to knock it away from Richer, followed up by Chelios, and that one bounced to the corner. Reggett to watch it, sets it up for Samuelson. Meanwhile, Reggett wedged Bob Gainey gently to the back of the net. It is Corson dumping one right back off again, and Mark Howe controls with 3:40 to go in the third. Shell Samuelson's pass went away from Sutter, brought in by Sutter with Sinisalo already in the zone. Clock stopped with 3:37 to go here in the third period. Richer, Desjardins, and Carbonneau, the goal scorers in the game. Let's return now to our Sports Channel studios.
Thanks, Mike. Coming up after the game, stay tuned for the complete sports wrap-up with Sports Nightly. Mike and I will have the Stanley Cup report. In other news, 3 NBA teams are facing playoff elimination. Pete Rose in serious trouble with the IRS, could get a verdict from baseball as early as next week. Darryl Burnett will have those stories and all the scores and highlights from the major leagues. And don't forget, Stanley Cup on Sports Channel continues tomorrow night in Calgary. Let's go back to Montreal.
Dave Poulin and Bobby Smith to take the face-off with 3:37 left to go here. That's still plenty of time under normal circumstances, but the soundness of the Canadiens game dictates that a big 3 goals rather than a 3 that could be quickly even. They've been really good here tonight. Keane starts to move ahead. Chychrun right on him. Keane able to nudge further for Naslund, and it is Poulin touching, and now we get a stoppage of play. Keane comes over and has something of a shove in Kartner's direction, and I was watching the puck and did not notice what might have brought about the penalty.
I think Bill McCreary has called a high sticking penalty on Terry Kartner. It looked like his stick came up and caught Keane in the corner. Kartner doesn't even have a stick right now. It's broke in two. So he's going to have somebody bring him one from the bench. But the Montreal Canadiens have taken advantage of their opportunities on the power play tonight. That, to me, has been one of the differences. The challenge for the penalty killers was really great tonight, but man, a couple of 5-on-3s. That's how Montreal scored their first goal, was on a 5-on-3.
Slashing is the call on Kartner. And so the Canadiens, with a chance to get even more insurance here, go on another power play. By my count, this is their 7th one of the evening. All right, correct myself. We'll make that the 8th of the night. 8th power play for Montreal as we see what brought it about. The flash to Kartner. Flash broke the stick, and then he went after Naslund. It wasn't Keane that he hit in the corner. It was Naslund. Chelios will have to go back and get this one. There have been no multiple point scorers tonight for the Canadiens. Seven individual players, including Patrick Roy, have come up with a point apiece. And Roy has certainly earned his shutout, though he has not been that severely tested in the game. He has faced 23 shots, and a lot of those routine. But that does not take the luster away from his performance, nor that of his team. And, of course, it's the ideal when you can keep the quality shots that a team will get down, and that's just what the Canadiens have been able to do. Poulin forces it back out. But the Flyers have accomplished what they originally set out to do. It's nice to think about coming into a building on the road and winning 2 games. But when you finish 35 points behind them in the regular season, you still have to be an underdog. So the Flyers win game 1 with 2 minutes to go. They're going to need a minor miracle here to come back because they're down by 3. But the split is what the Flyers wanted. If nothing changes, it becomes a best of 5 as Chelios turns it back across to Desjardins. 2 minutes to go in the third period. 45 seconds power play. Courtnall with a shot that went high off of Reggett. And it's scooped back along, and Reggett gets back to his feet again as it is kept by Courtnall. Then to Chelios. Chelios to Desjardins, and his shot broken up by Doug Sullivan. Sullivan moving back, and Chelios has dropped back with Desjardins on defense. Sullivan with a pass directed right on goal by Derek Smith. We take a glance back as you watch this play to see how Ken Reggett is, and he appears to be alert in the goal as a shot must have gone off his mask. It went off high. Here is Ryan Walter, matched stride for stride by Samuelson. Centers off a couple of Flyers, but it is Tocchet getting it. Lays it back out, and it flops out of play at the Philadelphia bench. So with 1:21 to go in the third and 7 seconds remaining on the minor penalty to Kartner, now the Canadian attention will likely be turned to preserving the shutout for Patrick Roy. Kenny Reggett was dazed momentarily from this shot. It looked like it hit him right between the eyes. That's about right. I think it hit him in the cage. I thought that it had gone off his helmet originally, but I think it went right off the cage with 2 wires and headed it right for his eye. You know, I don't think I've seen a goaltender with a cage that flops on either side like that, too. It's not really hinged at the top, is it? It's sort of on a, I don't know what you would call it. Maybe on a kind of a hinge. Unlike that, it looks like it's pretty well soldered right into the mast. Compare the protection. That looks like it's a far greater piece of armor, doesn't it, than Ken Reggett's mask. Ron Hextall has said he's going to evaluate every piece of equipment that they use to protect the throat over the summertime and try it all out next year. But he's doing nothing right now toward changing anything for the playoffs. Here's Courtnall with a shot, and it hit off the post. Corson in front, and they tipped one wide. And now Wells really working on Carbonneau as Sutter comes crashing by into Courtnall. Down to the last minute of regulation time. Ron Sutter cruises and dips back, handing it on to Jay Wells. Then across it comes to Chikrin. Little tap went off of Tocchet. Larry Robinson goes back to get it, and Berube right on him, giving him some lumber. Greg Berube trying to force the puck away from Robinson and Bullard there. But it is Corson in these last 40 seconds now of regulation time. Berube trying to lay the stick on virtually everyone there right now as Chikrin drops one wide. Over to get it is Craig Berube. Tried to center, but it's blocked down by Robinson. Robinson comes by, and the pass sent for Berube, but around it comes now to Peter Svoboda. Svoboda's pass came over to Ryan Walter in the last 20. Canadiens had the pressure coming into this game tonight because they had lost the opener here at the Forum in Montreal. We're down to the last 10 seconds of this one. But they have earned the shutout for goalkeeper Patrick Roy tonight. His second of the Stanley Cup playoffs and his first in the last 3 years, as we had Corson and Craig Berube being held off by Kevin Collins at the siren that ends the game. We saw Berube thrust out with a stick, and Corson doubled over, but now seems to be okay. And a rather ominous finish in the final 45 seconds or so of this game tonight. But now it is the Canadiens congratulating the goalkeeper, Patrick Roy. You get a chance again to see Craig Berube just a moment ago. Eventually, he and Corson were at center ice, and Kevin Collins, one of the linesmen, got in between them, and at that point, Berube pushed the stick out, and Corson responded by doubling over just a little bit, but seemed to have been perfectly okay when the horn was sounded. Well, regardless, the Flyers come off the ice having dropped the second game, but did secure a split in the first 2 games of this best-of-7 series, and the Canadiens, after losing game 1, got back what they wanted. Not only some credibility with this 3-0 victory, but also have evened the series. The final score in our game, the Montreal Canadiens 3, the Philadelphia Flyers 0. Let's return to our studios.
4 straight. Now they take on the